there, friends. Good Saturday evening. Thanks for checking in for your KHOU 11 Plus tropical weather update. I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett. It has been a very hot day in Houston. Barely a drop of rain. We got up to 103. That's actually the hottest it's been in almost 3 years in Houston, officially at the Bush Airport site. So while the news locally is the heat, we are, of course, also watching the tropics as we are getting closer and closer to the typical peak of our hurricane season. Let's get right to it. I want to show you the tropical overview. We do have a few areas that we're watching, areas of some potential development. A couple of these are going to be a lot of a fish storm, just kind of out to sea, nothing going on. We do have this one that's going to pass by Bermuda. That only has a 30% chance of developing into anything within 7 days, but even if it does, that one's going to continue out to sea. We actually have a small area of potential development way over in the eastern Atlantic. That's actually off the coast of Portugal and Spain. So that is going to be moving inland and, of course, away from the United States. The one that we're really going to be watching here is this next tropical wave that's just come off the coast of Africa. This time of year, we really watch these waves that come off of the African coast, because those are what typically eventually develop into our tropical storms and hurricanes. And we do have a new area out here just off the western Africa coast that now has a 40% chance of developing into a tropical storm within the next 7 days. Now, it's still ways out here. We have a long time to watch this thing. But in general, at least at this moment, I don't think it's going to be a big concern for anybody in the Gulf. We'll keep an eye on it, though, and I'll tell you why. So here's kind of the tropical satellite overview through the Atlantic. You see some of those waves coming off of Africa, big-time thunderstorms there, just about to come out in the Atlantic Ocean. There's that swirl. Check that out. Almost that crisscross swirl pattern up there toward Portugal and Spain. That's moving inland, and then that area near Bermuda that might develop into something, but overall odds are pretty low. The one we're really going to focus on is this area that's just coming off the coast of Africa. That's going to be the best chance of any development, but again, it's only 40% at this time. High pressure is right over the Atlantic, so that's our big steering current. That Bermuda high that sits over the Atlantic close to Bermuda, that's what typically determines which way these storms go. More often than not, when we have a strong high pressure like this over the Atlantic, those storms come off of Africa and they do the big swirl all the way around. That high pressure kind of picks them up and carries them around clockwise, and then they continue eastward in the North Atlantic. So a setup like this is actually good news for us in the Gulf and Caribbean, because frequently they get kind of picked up and scooped up and then they're sent back out to sea. And that is pretty typical this time of year. These are our typical development regions in August and September. A very common pattern is that we get storms across the Atlantic and then they are shuffled back out to sea. Not to say we can't get a Gulf or Caribbean storm, but typically in this pattern we would expect more of an out to sea pattern with any of these waves. Now, some better news, even if this thing does get close to the Caribbean or the Gulf or whatever, we have a ton of wind shear. Wind shear is not good for hurricanes. Hurricanes need to build straight up. They love symmetry. They need to be equal. If you get a lot of wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere, they kind of get torn apart, sheared apart, and then they can't develop in anything. We actually saw this a couple of weeks ago. We had a couple of waves we were watching off of Africa that came across the Atlantic. They got to the Caribbean, they hit all this wind shear, and they literally just got ripped apart. So that's kind of another barrier that we have for us in the Gulf and Caribbean, is even if that storm does continue west, that area of development, it's going to get sheared apart once it hits the Caribbean. So that's why I say, even though this thing could become our next tropical depression, about a 40% chance in the next 7 days, it's either going to go out to sea or it's going to get completely sheared apart by all of that wind shear. We've also got a lot of wind shear in the Gulf right now, upper level winds that would prohibit any tropical development. You can actually see the big high pressure zone over West Texas. That's our heat dome that's been parked over us. That's the reason we're hot and dry, but that high pressure clockwise pattern over Southeast Texas and the Gulf, that's going to be something else that would block any tropical system. So all of that to say, the pattern we have right now is all good news for the Caribbean and the Gulf, because nothing's going to be able to get through here with all the wind shear and that big steering pattern in the Atlantic. Not as much dust, Saharan dust, as we were seeing earlier in the season. We've had a couple of waves come through to kind of disrupt that. There are some signs by the end of next week, maybe we get another round of dust in the Gulf. That could make those skies a bit more hazy, but dust is something else that tropical storms and hurricanes don't like. So we've got wind shear, we've got a little dust, we've got a big Bermuda high. All good news for the Gulf and Caribbean at this moment. Of course, we are in an El Nino year. You've heard a lot about this, and we expect with an El Nino year that our Atlantic hurricane season is going to be below average. This is the definition of El Nino. I know that's kind of a fun word that everybody throws around, but this is why we have an El Nino right now. This is your water temperature anomaly. Where you see that red stripe along the equator up into South America, that is a very warm ocean water, warmer than usual in the Pacific. That is the definition of an El Nino. If this was cooler than normal, we'd be in a La Nina. But we're in an El Nino year because of that warm ocean water. What happens is when we get an El Nino year, we typically have a lot of wind shear in the Gulf, which is exactly what we have now. So that's kind of to be expected. That's why we have a forecast for a below average hurricane season in the Atlantic at least. And it seems like that's coming to fruition with not a whole lot going on. We are, of course, getting close to the peak of the season. Typically, that's about September 10th. In terms of tropical storms and hurricanes. So we've got a couple more weeks until we're at the peak. But again, at least for right now, it doesn't look like anything is going to be threatening the Caribbean or the Gulf anytime soon. That's good news. Hopefully we can keep it that way. We've only had 3 storms this year. We had Arthur, Bertha, and most recently Cristobal up in the northern Atlantic. And that was a really little storm that lasted like 18 hours and then it was done, didn't hit anything. Next name on the list is Dolly. But I think right now we're going to be waiting for Dolly for a little bit. I don't think she's coming anytime soon. 7-day forecast looks like this here in southeast Texas and the Gulf. Again, we have no tropical systems to worry about. Very hot, very humid though, thanks to our high pressure. 102 for Sunday. Very low risk of an isolated shower, only 20%. Most of us are not going to see any rain on Sunday. And then as you look ahead to next week, we stay very hot, high temperatures at or above 100 degrees. We'll stay sunny and dry for the first part of the week. Temperatures do try to come down a little bit by the weekend. I don't know if you really want to call it relief, but we are going to see the numbers drop a little bit. High of about 98 by Friday and Saturday. Notice we'd have some slight rain chances in there by the end of the week and next weekend. But again, we're only talking about 20%. So the odds of any serious rain that would cool us down, it does not look like it's coming anytime soon. We're actually starting to see drought conditions build with how overall dry it has been. Yeah, we've had the little popcorn showers, but not as much rain as we should be getting. And that's why we are so hot and so dry. By the way, heat index values, 105 to 110 for the next few days. So that heat advisory is still in place. So with the tropics, all in all, good news right now for us in the Gulf and Caribbean. Doesn't look like anything is on the way anytime soon. It's good news. We'll see how long we can keep it that way. We are here every night at 9 p.m. on KHOU 11 Plus, also on Facebook and YouTube. We like to give you an update, even if nothing's going on. No news is good news. We'd love to tell you the tropics are quiet. So either way, through the season, we are here every night. Wherever you're watching now, you can watch us anytime, every night of the week, right here at 9 p.m. For now, though, we'll let you go. Our next newscast comes up at 10 p.m. I'll see you then. For now, I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett at KHOU 11 in Houston.